Unlocking Web3 and Tech for Football.
Let's start with Web3 and the tech for football. Great to have the panelists here. Actually, a sort of a beginning of the whole space started about 5 years ago when I became the chairman of the football club from which Akinjobi came from in Bosnia. Actually, the first contracts I signed at the time were the sort of Web3 and fan engagement and blockchain contracts, and one of which was with Tom of Seyu. So our journey started good 4 years ago, and also with Result Sports and Mario Leo, who's known as a big figure when it comes down to digital strategy in the world of football, working with the likes of Borussia Dortmund since 2009 and some of the biggest clubs in the world, including Juventus and the City Football Group, and of course Blocksport that I've been on a journey with for the last 4 years. Why did I do that is purely because I wanted to digitalize the club and bring it back to the sort of old glory of the 70s and 80s when it was a major force in Europe. And as a club president, I actually encountered lots and lots of resistance across the board. However, eventually, as I stepped down, the club officials took that in the right direction. So the actual subject matter is very, very important here. But before we delve into the whole conversation, I'd love to give the panelists about 30 seconds to do a quick introduction, and then we will start with the questions. So let's start with you, Richard.
Hi. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a 30-second introduction, but my name's Richard Bron. I'm the chairman of Concorde Media Group. We're a company that represents talent. My background is managing very famous rock stars for the last 40 years. So I come from the world of music, talent, and development of artists and brands.
Eugene.
Yeah, my name is Eugene Ravdin. I'm PR and communications manager for a betting affiliate company, MightyTips, but I guess I'm sitting here more because of the fact that I spent most of my professional career in football journalism with a media background. I've been working as a translator, reporter, SMM, editor-in-chief for UEFA.com, the official UEFA website. And I've worked at numerous tournaments, matches, and stuff, so I think this gives me some perspective to speak on the matter. I also play fantasy football.
Thank you. Tom.
Nice one. Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Vechy. I am the CEO and founder of Seyu Together for Victory, which is one of Europe's leading fan engagement solution, entering 33 countries so far. And we provide a real-time moderated channel for fans to become part of the action, not only in Stadia, but remotely as well.
Dean, just a 30 seconds, so a quick intro, and then we'll start.
Working? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Dean just arrived, a bit late, but yeah, apologies. Dean Akinjobi, CEO of Football Media. We're a digital advertising and sponsorship agency that work across the Web3 space, in particular with crypto and gambling.
Fantastic, thank you. Richard, let's start with you. Media and entertainment background since the 80s and 90s. Football and tech, especially women's football. Spotify sponsorship for your girls' grassroots academy in London. Why football and tech, Richard, and where is it going in your view?
Well, you know, I think on the previous panel, people were talking about football and sport being the ultimate fandom, but I actually don't agree with that. I think that the ultimate fandom on a global basis has always been music. And really, when you look at the big brands that have got involved in music, they've always used music as a form of customer acquisition. And so sport now has become the next generation of customer acquisition for big brands. And so when you look at Formula One as an example, which is one of the areas that we work in, you're seeing huge sponsorship money. Yesterday, Formula One announced that their latest partner is Nestle and Kit Kat. So the have a break has a new meaning to coming into a fast corner at 200 miles an hour. And this is what we see now, is that in sport, particularly us looking at women's football, we're seeing opportunities for new fan engagement to bring brands a way of acquiring customers in the same way that Walmart, Best Buy, Tesco, MediaMarkt acquired customers through selling CDs and DVDs at $5 less than they were buying it for. So this is where we see that our expertise in understanding, when I was the manager of Metallica or Motorhead and bands like that, we used what was in the old days called guerrilla marketing. Now it's called fan engagement. So the new guerrilla marketing is fan engagement, and the new customer acquisition is sport.
Excellent, thank you. Tom, let's come to you. Seyu has been at the forefront of sports tech innovation for many years now. What have been the biggest obstacles in your journey and what's preventing bigger and faster adoption of sports tech innovation in football today?
That's a question that I can answer many different ways, and don't want to spend the whole afternoon here. But I think the number one, not offending anybody, hopefully in the audience as well, is the mindset of leaders in sport, were basically the major blockers of advancing technologies and new solutions, and their way of comfortability to do their everyday business and not moving away from that in a way of bringing in new solutions and opening towards bringing the fans closer, taking better care of the data that they can collect, and they can monetize and fine-tune their offerings to their fans instantly or remotely as well, and through that to their sponsors as well.
Thank you. Dean, as a CEO of Football Media, you recently said that Web3, AI, and tech are transformative forces shaping the future of football, and as such redefining the way football clubs and brands are connected with the audience both on and off the pitch. Could you please elaborate a bit more on that and tell the audience your views and predictions where the football industry is heading in that matter?
Yeah, so I guess the football industry is heading in, for exponential growth, utilizing Web3 and also AI. We've seen recently partnerships with the likes of Meta and Wrexham, which is first in its kind. Wrexham will now have content across Meta where they'll be able to engage with fans in a virtual reality space, and that's only the beginning. And even just recently, we've also seen partnerships with the likes of Salesforce that have done a deal with Tottenham Hotspurs. They are now their official AI CRM partner. So you're seeing that exponential growth in this space, and it's just only the beginning. The stuff that we've done at Football Media, we are actually working on some interesting AI projects with AI agents that we're starting to support clubs with and brands, and utilizing partnerships in, for example, the betting space. We've recently worked with a brand implementing them with AC Milan, but the whole point was a betting partnership, this first Telegram casino, and utilizing tokenization as well. So the football industry is naturally one of the highest peaking growth areas for brands to engage with, and the fact that technology and sport aligns immensely, I think that it's just a perfect synergy. So.
Excellent, thank you. Eugene, as head of communication of SEO Brothers, designed to establish and manage partnerships between football clubs, fan communities, players and coaches. What are your experiences in the space, and how are those stakeholders reaching and reacting to such projects and tech and Web3 as a whole?
Well, I have to say, if you're asking about my experiences, well, given the scale of our company, we're not huge hitters. We're not really big players that can operate millions of euros and dollars in budget and acquire big sponsorship deals. So we have to take it step by step. We have to take it in a modest manner. And this defines the level and the scale of clubs that we can talk to. And I have to say that football, being a very conservative game, and a very conservative environment, not just a game, but the whole industry. I have to say that a vast majority of clubs and teams are very far from what we are talking here about. Yeah, we can only, if we're talking about embracing Web3 and new models and NFTs, I think we can only speak about maybe 20, 30 clubs in the world, maybe more, maybe 50. But a huge amount of the clubs, I wouldn't say that they're living in the past, but they still do their business the way they used to do 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago. There's not a lot of AI things. There's not a lot of computerized counting and like trying to look into the future. It's just good old football that that people still do like they used to.
Yeah, I guess I was going to add there. I think what you'll find in football is very unique, is because a football club, realistically, doesn't really have any main competitors. And I think that's why they can afford to have legacy fans and live in the past, so to speak, because it's not like they're being challenged by, you know, rivals for support of their team. Like, there's usually, like, you stick with your club. I mean, teams go through cyclical processes, like Man City growing, but their fan base is not as big as Manchester United or Liverpool. So I think that's where you have this, like, sort of adaptation that takes a bit of time, because unlike a brand who has ultimate competitors that will actually say, well, I need to embrace AI, we need to embrace Web3. However, a football club is just institutions that are quite blessed because they don't really have people competing for eyeballs.
That's changing. I think the Gen Z and Gen Alpha are much more fickle than our generation and our parents' generation. And I think we are now seeing, for the first time, the fans are actually following players and their heroes rather than actually sticking with the clubs. My kids tend to change teams relatively regularly. You know, they're both sort of from Man U to Arsenal to Chelsea to Tottenham. There seem to be a new trend, and I don't think the clubs can really afford to do what they've been doing up until now. I mean, Tom, do you want to say something on that?
I absolutely agree with what Eugene was saying as well, and I'm also welcoming the more tech-savvy brands you just mentioned, creating an activation for or sponsorship deals coming into sport, because they are more data-savvy and running data-driven marketing campaigns. And the clubs have to grow up, you know, to their maturity, data-wise and fan-based knowledge-wise, to cater to these kind of brands. But they are still B2B deals, you know, and what I'm really missing is the B2B2C monetization that could be done through football, because they are still doing, you know, selling tickets, sponsorship deals, selling players, the ordinary way of generating revenue as they did, you know, for the last 100 years. But they are still not tapping into the spending power of that huge remote fan base, which is often more than 99% of all fans tuning into a sport event.
And then just to the point of, and we'll have to jump to the next question, is where there is competition for football clubs, it's the global landscape, not so much the local landscape.
Yes, exactly.
As you know, Africa, Asia, LATAM, North America are becoming hugely competitive environments for smaller clubs to actually enter that whole space, rather than be relying on their local fan base, which isn't enough these days for many clubs to actually even say solvent. So there is a piece of competition. But that brings me to the next question. I'd like to actually, Richard, to start with that. Are the football clubs today more like a tech and business and media businesses than they're actually football businesses as a whole? And we'll start with Richard. This is a question for all the panel.
I think this goes back to what I started to say before, which is that whilst the point that some of the others have made, if you're a supporter of Arsenal, then that's a very colloquial and a very local fact. I'm from North London. I support Arsenal because it's my local team. And the truth is that in 20 years ago, 30 years ago, no one cared about Arsenal in Australia or in Argentina. Conversely, when I was the manager of Metallica, or if you look at Robbie Williams, which is another artist that I represented, they put out a song. That song is the same product all around the world. They can tour around the world. They can play around the world. So there's a huge amount to be learnt from the evolution of the football club as a brand, as a media brand, as a media property, as a rights holder, and because the technology exists now to enable us to participate in that fan brand experience anywhere in the world. So we've got technologies that we're working on now which allow a fan to sit in a stadium through a virtual reality headset from any house in the world, which using, to the point that someone made, a Meta Oculus Quest headset, which you can readily buy for 200 bucks. But actually, you can be in that stadium for a sold-out event, whether it's a Taylor Swift concert or whether it's an Arsenal versus Manchester United game. So what's changed now is that Arsenal is a global brand, and the technology now, through things like Web3, allows us to engage with fans all around the world that would never have had a reason to engage in football. So one of the things that we've been discussing, and you and I have talked about this, is why is there not a football club called London? Shocking. Manchester, Newcastle, Birmingham, Paris, Barcelona, Madrid, but somehow there's never been a football club called London. London is probably the most famous brand in the world that has never ever been exploited. So hopefully that goes some way to answer the question and lead on to the other guys.
Thank you. Eugene?
Yeah, I guess that football clubs, even if there is a club that doesn't want to be a business, they are forced to, because there are not so many profitable clubs in football these days. So if you don't try to squeeze everything you can, if you don't try to use all the opportunities that you can, you just go broke. Yeah, I understand that many clubs are somehow incorporated into building brands and building trust for other brands and for other businesses. That's why the sponsorships are there. But this is all also a part of being a business. So, well, to put it short, my answer is, if you don't try to be a business, you just wane and die. But that said, I still believe that the reason behind most of the football clubs and the reason behind the football being so popular and being still alive and evolving and improving is that personal passion that many club owners or CEOs have for the club. And some of them just do it without really maybe questioning why on a business level they're doing it. Because it's their passion, because it's, again, the tradition, because it's the club that their father took them to watch 30 years ago. So for me, it's a nice symbiosis between being a business and still being a matter and a thing of passion.
Tom, are football clubs media, data, tech businesses today?
I can share the thoughts of others here, absolutely, on, people working at the clubs probably running it for passion, and they are not necessarily the most skilled marketers, the most skilled salesperson, the most skilled data managers, yet they still should, look outside and look for experts and be open for solutions. But looking at overall the football scene and clubs, what I'm really missing, from their organization as a business is a department focusing on new revenue and new ways of monetization. Because, and going back again, the comfortability and nothing forcing them, you mentioned, because they are up high, to compare to other sports, when it comes to revenues and things like that. The only thing which forced them, it was COVID. Because, they all of a sudden, sugar, no fans in the stadiums, we are not selling anything. Oh my God, the sponsors are going away. We were so dependent on the ordinary commercial partnerships and platforms. We have to do something. So that kind of sped up digitalization, which was funny for a remote fan involving solution. After the fans were coming back to the stadium, they started to say, hey, we want your thing, because we need it, But when there were no fans in the stadiums, they were like, okay, we're not going to do anything. We wait until the end of this thing comes. But yeah, so that was the only thing which really forced them to think broader and reduce their dependency on ordinary sponsorship partnerships.
Excellent. Din, your views?
Yeah, I would say I believe that football clubs essentially are media businesses. They've had to change the way they position themselves in the markets, because no longer is a traditional fan journey going to Manchesterunited.com or Arsenal or whatever. you're competing with TikTok, you're competing with Instagram, you're competing with Sky Sports. We're in an information age of like consistent media. So I would say that all football clubs essentially are media businesses, and they have to act like that, because at the end of the day, if you want to deliver fan engagement and growth, you need to be interacting across all of these channels at scale, because no longer are you, no longer can you just rely on your content. You have to be everywhere. So, and I think from the commercial standpoint, it really depends on the clubs, because I said we work with clubs all throughout every league, and like every setup's different. So you do have different clubs that are, very innovative around data. Man City, for example, one club that's very, very highly innovative around data and being progressive. And other clubs sometimes don't have the resource as well. And then you bring in things like financial fair play, because like there's questions like comments on the panel like about people not having the resources to do the commercial deals internally. But there's also financial fair play, so the clubs have to balance their books. But ultimately, to summarize, I guess football clubs are media businesses. You have to be, because if you're not, it's like where are you?
Not to be contentious, but I think there's a huge difference between being a media business and being a media platform. And because of the complications that Man City or Arsenal or any of the football clubs have in the rights that they possess themselves, actually the rights that they have are very limited. They're limited to really the T-shirts, and even those are sold off to Adidas or Puma. So in my opinion, when we talk about a TikTok, when we talk about a Spotify, what they're really, what they are their media platforms. And what I think is true now is that the football clubs are platforms for others to engage with their customers. And that's a big difference between being a business. Obviously, a platform is a business, but it's a different type of business. So that would be my final point on that particular subject.
Tom?
Yeah, but I absolutely agree with that. So brands are coming in, they want to leverage the infrastructure of clubs to access their potential consumers, right? And if they don't have their infrastructure rightly set, and they don't know who they can reach with their arms, then the brands would not become.
Exactly. End of the day, if like you don't have scale and reach, you're nothing basically. So whether you're a platform, a media business, ultimately you better be having people engaging with your content, whether that's like through your website, through TikTok, and even monetization of rights. If you don't own the rights, that's fine, but you can create innovative behind-the-scenes content and engaging content across multiple different platforms. So essentially, I would say, my point is that you act like a media business. You are kind of a media business, utilizing platforms. And that's where you will get brands like the ones we work with, engaging with the clubs that have the best reach and engagement.
I think this is a topic we could carry on. Tom, let me just move to the final part of the session. And it's really about how can we educate and empower CEOs, CTOs, CFOs of top football clubs in Europe to embrace the data space, and also in return help educate their fans and ensure their fans actually benefit in the process of digital transformation and data acquisition, not just via typical perks and benefits like money can't buy experiences, which of course to lots of fans are priceless, but also financially too. We have football clubs with a fan bases anywhere from 10,000 to 1 billion plus, with the likes of the Man U. And in almost all instances, the majority of those fans will never set a foot inside the stadium of these clubs they support. So how does the club senior management ensure that those fans, they don't have the financial means, but consume a huge amount of time, also benefit and feel a valued part of the fan base? Richard?
So, of course, this is the $64 million question, because the problem that we've had coming from the world of music was all of a sudden, one day we woke up and all of our products were free on the internet. And the people who were the CEOs of the music companies suddenly found they had a giant problem that they could never solve, because you can't unfree something that was already now free on the internet. So I think the answer to the question lies in the simplicity of education. The technology is moving far quicker than the people who are running these businesses are able to comprehend. And the people that are running these businesses have these jobs because they've had the experience of working their way through a system that isn't really designed to educate them. So they're very busy trying to run their business, trying to run their platform, and they don't really have time to stop and learn about the simple things that they can do to keep up with the Joneses, to keep up with the technologies. So it's up to us to educate those CEOs and those management teams as to what they can do to keep up and to be in advance of the emerging technologies that are coming at us very, very quickly.
Thank you. Eugene.
I also think that this, in a big part, is a matter of just waiting patiently, because it's a matter of age. Because let's say a 60-year-old Arsenal fan or Barcelona fan.
Thank you. Thank you for telling everyone how old I am.
It was just a wild guess. Well, at least you will be able to tell whether I'm right or not. I don't believe that given fan would consume his football and his team any other way than he is used to. Maybe to a little extent, but the habits are so strong and the traditions are so strong that it's only with time we can hope to fully embrace, like when a new generation of fans grow up and become financially stable. When a new generation of officers and CEOs grow up and take this somewhere else to where we can hardly imagine.
Thank you. Tom.
Yeah, it's not an easy task for the clubs and for any sports institute, nowadays, because you have like 6 different generations living in one time. They never had, before that. And they are all consuming sport a little differently. And again, they are so busy to running their everyday business, and they don't have time to come up for air and look around and see what we can do differently, how we can streamline our processes or do a bit more. And just to answering the question how we can, have this change, it's just continuously educating that, what my panelist partners were saying. And in my experience also to staying within arm's reach to them, whenever they have the time to come up for air, you are there who they can turn to. So we are in touch with over 4,000 Sports Institute experts globally, and they're continuously, reading content from us and engaging with our product. We are engaging with them just to find the right time, because it's a one-way street, right? It could come at a different journey for everybody. It could come, for one club in 3 months, another one could come in 18 months, or, a president comes in who's digitally savvy, and then the door opens and paves the way, for the future, just as you did with Zayas. So I think it's education and being in an arm's length away from them.
Thank you. Dean.
Yeah, one thing that we do, we essentially, all the clubs we work with, in particular set of them, we actually just talk to them about their data. So it's like, where are you now? Where do you want to be? And where are things going? And the way are things going are moving very, very quickly. So like presenting that data piece is key. And then strategically, also when the brands we work with, when we're creating partnerships, when we've done these deals, we actually bring value into the club as well. So it's a two-way streak. So if we've done a deal with a tech brand or a crypto brand, we utilize those services and educate the club staff as well. So it's a two-way deal that the club actually benefits, and that way you can actually make intrinsic change because you're bringing something of value to the club and enabling the club to change their perspective on digital growth.
One minor point, Samir.
Yep.
The one thing that Eugene missed out when he was describing a 60-year-old football fan is that I'm really stupid. And that's something that these CEOs need to remember. I will spend unlimited amounts of money with no logic to go traipsing around the world to watch my football team, or even, I have friends of mine who went to every Bruce Springsteen concert on the tour. Fans are stupid. They will spend any amount of money to enjoy what they want. And it's something people need to remember.
All due respect. Yeah, I actually, echoes the words of, some of the conversations with club leaders that I wouldn't pay for that. Why would a fan pay for it? I wouldn't. But why not test it and see if they pay for it? People buy bottled air.
And water.
Fantastic. No, thoroughly enjoyed all of your insights and sort of the use cases. I think we are onto an exciting journey when it comes down to tech, Web3 and football. I think there's so much more work to be done. Thank you, Olga, the AIBC's managing director, who actually introduced sports and tech track to AIBC Malta and is now taking on to the global tour to Dubai, Sao Paulo, Manila, and Cape Town next year. So it's been a great pleasure. And please connect with these great experts. They'll be around for the next couple of days, and enjoy the rest of the time in Malta. Thank you.
Thank you.